Hello everyone, this is ProfSJRangdal, and in this video we'll be talking about use of AutoCAD for machine drawing. So in this particular video I'll be using two software. The software that you see here is a mind mapping software, mindomo.com, and I have placed all these topics in a form of branched format, and essentially I'll be moving between the branches to show you the different parts. The second window that I'll be using is of AutoCAD. So many a times I'll be shifting between these two windows whenever I have to show you the structure of a particular point. I'll be shifting to the Mindomo, and then I'll be switching back to AutoCAD in order to show you the demo of how a particular command or navigation system works. So please don't confuse yourself with these two software. This is not AutoCAD. This is just for showing you the different parts, and this is essentially AutoCAD. So let us begin with today's session. In this video, we'll be talking about the machine drawing. That initially it just used to be called as the machine drawing, and it of course used to be a lab, and we used to do manual drafting in that. But now the name has been changed to machine drawing and modeling lab, because it now uses CAD systems, the CAD softwares, to not just draft but also model them in 3 dimensions. So let's begin. So machine drawing has various conventions that we have to follow while completing the drawings. The primary purpose of machine drawing is to make diagrams so that it will be useful for the customers and those who are assembling or repairing the components, the machines, to understand the relative positioning, how the components are assembled, and how to repair the component in case it goes wrong in the future. So so the conventions and all the theory that we need to study, we usually do so from the book. And initially, before the advent of CAD systems, we had to do all these drawings manually. Almost all the calculations had to be done manually, and once the dimensions were finalized, those using those dimensions, we had to put the drawing together. But as we are moving forward, there are many problems with the manual drafting that are solved with the CAD systems. Like, manual drafting depends on the skills of the person who is drawing, and of course we need so many different equipments, and the person has to know which equipment is to be used at what time. And of course the storage of sheets also becomes a huge problem. There's a lot less of flexibility when it comes to modifying a drawing which is already done. So these are all the problems that the manual drafting provides us with. So that is why in modern life we are moving towards something called CAD systems. So CAD is computer aided designing. So basically we are using computers wherever possible to help us in the design process. So there are various different softwares available in the CAD systems, and I have basically divided them into these 4 categories. First category are those which are called non-parametric category. So these software, they are very similar to manual drafting. They provide us with better features in case we want manual drafting to be done. And here as well, most of the calculations and deciding parts have to be taken care of by us manually. Whereas parametric software, those are slightly different. Let us go ahead and see what are the software available under each of them. So under non-parametric, we have AutoCAD, which is the most famous software. Most of the people throughout the world, they use AutoCAD. And for this course, we'll be using AutoCAD itself. There are some other software as well, like MicroStation. This software was released and developed by Bentley. It's another company. This AutoCAD was developed by a company named Autodesk. There are some other free versions of the software also available. There's FreeCAD, there's Cadian, and a lot of other softwares. But AutoCAD among them is the most famous of them. Let's go ahead and see what options we have under the parametric software. Now, parametric software are those which have a lot of other features compared to the parametric. They are not only automated and they do a lot of calculations on their own, but also we just need to model the part in 3 dimensions, and their orthographics views are automatically developed. So we have something called associative file structure over there, so that once we complete one file, like a part drawing, once it is completed, the same file will be used in assembly, the same file will be used in simulations, or to put together the drawing, completed drawing along with the dimensions. Let's move ahead and see what is the third category. So third category, according to me, is the analysis software. This is where we do simulation. We try to put the forces and try to check out what are the deformations and whether the stresses that are generated in a deformed body are within safe acceptable limits. So that is what we do under analysis. If some force or some stress in a particular part of the body is crossing the danger limits, we have to redesign it such that it remains within acceptable limits. That's what happens in the analysis software. Then we have the last category, which I call it as the computer-aided manufacturing part. So this is where computer programs are used to feed into machines. They're called CNC machines, the computer numerical control type machines. And once we feed these programs into the machines, they will do the complete, they will machine full components and provide us with a finished product. So the other categories we are not going to take up in this series of tutorials. Will be mainly concentrating on AutoCAD. So in AutoCAD have broadly classified the categories in which we'll be studying AutoCAD into these, which you can see. So let's go ahead and take a look at them one by one. The first, we'll talk about the input devices. So input devices are the devices with which we'll be interacting with the software. Right? We cannot just directly interact with the software with our hands and all. And basically, AutoCAD is a software that runs on a system, a desktop or a laptop, and it doesn't usually have a touchscreen, so it's not made, it's not designed, it's not developed to work on the touchscreens. Of course, we have the Android version of the software also available, and it is slowly trying to transform itself to be suitable on the touchscreen laptops as time passes by. But we will not be concentrating on those. So the input devices will be basically using the keyboard and the mouse. Let us just go ahead in detail, try to see what are the different ways in which we can use the keyboard. So one basic way to use the keyboard with AutoCAD is to use the command line. So this here you can see is the AutoCAD 2015. It's an educational version which I had downloaded with an ID. I had got registered on Autodesk website and I downloaded it. You also can do that. I've covered that part in another video. I'll just leave the link to that video in the description below. So in case you want to download the educational version, you can go there and do that. So this is what we call it as the command line. So almost anything that we type appears in the command line. So I can give commands one by one, like L enter. If I do, I'll get a line command and I'll be able to draw the lines. And C enter will give me a circle. M enter will provide me the option to move, which is a modify command. So this way I can go on to give the commands. So that's what happens with the command line. Here you can see the short commands. The short commands are like this. L is the short command for line, C is for circle, M for move. So like that, every command in AutoCAD has a shortcut. So we just have to feed that shortcut by using a keyboard, and we have to press enter or spacebar. Spacebar and enter, they both technically do the same job in AutoCAD. Then if you want to select the previous commands, suppose I already gave a command and I'm out of it, and if you want the same command to be activated again, you can just press the spacebar or enter. I already told you that the enter button and the spacebar button of the keyboard, they perform the same action. So if I want the same command to be taken, the previous command I had taken was it was move. So as when I press enter or spacebar, again the move command will be activated and I can go on to use it. And now it's again deselected. Suppose I want to use a command which I used before the move command. For that case, I have to just use my arrow keys, and in the command line below here you can see that I'm giving all the commands that I had used before. So having seen how to use the keyboard for repeating the commands, let's move ahead. Next we have to see something called the function keys. Now most of the function keys, they work like a toggle. Toggle means a button to turn some feature on or off. Let me start with F1. This is not exactly a toggle, but it brings up the help window. So F1 usually is the key used for help. So if you just press F1 when none of the commands are active, it will provide you with a help with general topics. So you can start choosing the topics or searching for the topics, and you can access it. One more very handy tool, the way you can use F1 is, suppose you have an active command. Suppose you have a command which is active and you want to know more about this command. Then as soon as the command is active, you can just press F1. Now what happens, instead of loading the standard concepts from which you can choose and read more about them, it will load that very command which is active at that moment. So I had move command active at the moment, hence it is showing me about move command. So it is showing me the move command and almost everything that the move command can do. Same way, let me close it, and this time let me go with another command. Let me say a circle. Now when the circle command is active, I am pressing F1. Instead of showing me the line command, now it is showing the circle command and almost everything that the circle command can do. Fine. So this way you can use help to a great advantage. Now the rest of the function keys you can see here, they work like a toggle, and they work like a toggle for something called as the drawing aids. Aid means help, and these are the functions which help us in drawing, hence they are called as the drawing aids. Let me show you in AutoCAD where they are visible. They are visible here on the bottommost line. Fine. So they are all present here on the bottommost line, and by using the function keys we can turn them on or off. Let me show you a few of them. So for example, F3 function key, it is turning on or snap, on and off. You can see here in the command line it is shown, and also here you can see this button is turning on and off. Same way, F6 is a command used for dynamic UCS, on and off. Now dynamic UCS is over here. Fine. So you can turn on and off the dynamic UCS. Same way, F7 is for grid, on and off. So you can see when I'm turning it on, you can see the grid over here as dots appearing in the background, and when I'm turning it off, the grids are not visible. So this way all the function keys that we have here, they are used for used as a toggle to turn a few things on and off. So we will learn more about what these functions are actually doing in the coming classes, in the coming part of the video. Let us move ahead for now and see what is the other method to give the command through the keyboard. So the third and last method of using the keyboard is just like any other Microsoft software. So we have to use buttons like Control, Alt, Shift in combination with some letters, and we will be able to activate a few of the commands. So cut, copy, paste are the most usual commands that we operate using this. Let me show you how it operates in AutoCAD. So here we have the AutoCAD window, and there are some objects on it. Let me select some of the objects first. So I'll just use the left click button and draw a rectangle to select this object. Now if I want to cut this object, I just have to press Ctrl plus X. So what this means is you have to keep the Control button pressed, and while the Control button is pressed, you have to press X button. And then if I want to paste it, I can just press Control, keeping it pressed. I have to press another button, that is V. So now you can see that object which we had cut initially, it has got attached with the mouse, and as I'm moving my mouse, the object is also moving with it. So I can place this object anywhere as per convenience. I can also copy the copy the objects. For that, again, I have to select the object. Control C is the command, and Control V is for paste. So you can see I can create as many copies of these objects as I want. Fine. So let me just undo. So Control plus X is for cut, Control plus C, copy, Control plus V is for paste. There are some other generally used commands like Control 0. It will hide all the toolbars so that you can operate AutoCAD only using the commands. So this is a favorite of many of the developers, especially because the space on the screen is very little, and if you don't want the ribbon to come and disturb you while you're drawing, you can just hide them. So you just have to keep the control button pressed, and while it is pressed, you have to press 0. So this is a full screen view wherein no other command is visible, but the command line is of course here. So if you know the shortcuts to the commands, you will be definitely able to complete your drawing. Fine. So here the next option that is visible here is Control plus 9. This will hide the command line. So this happens many times with many of the students that by mistake they end up removing the command line. Fine. So if I press this cross button, it will once give me a warning that you are removing it, but if you just click yes, now the command line is gone. Now of course, if I give some command with the keyboard, it will work, but I will not be able to see the commands being given in the command line. So how can you make it appear back? You can just give the command Control plus 9, and there it is. So the command line will be back, and you will be able to see all the commands that you're giving. So this is it. These are the 3 ways in which you can use your keyboard.